Hi, and welcome to Food Farms and Chefs. I am very happy and excited to bring back one of my friends and a previous guest on Food Farms and Chefs, Roberta Pipito, who is having so many great things happening in your life. I mean, obviously not everything is great, but um, as far as your career is concerned, you definitely are having big things. But welcome back to Food Farms and Chefs.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be with you guys again.
I know it's a lot of fun. And oh, I thought Jean was going to say something. So for our listeners out there, you have a long history in the culinary world, and you, I think, began cooking like by your mother, when you were younger. So let our listeners know a little bit about your history and how you got into everything.
So it actually started really with my father, who's a baker and a chef. So I was in the kitchen at a very young age, going to the bakery with him at a very young age. So food is just, and it's ingrained in my like culture as well, Italian and Brazilian. So we're always cooking. So it's something I just grew up with for as long as I can remember. I was in the kitchen making homemade pasta.
Yeah, and I know that you've also created numerous dishes for and been highlighted on various TV shows, on magazines, on like on news channels. Like I like when I look back and have to research, I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. And I get tired just like kind of looking through your resume and everything that you've done.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 11 years, actually almost 12 years down this road. I mean, I started blogging at Homemade Delish. And then from there, I started to get opportunities for TV. I started doing local TV, like here in Philadelphia, Fox 29. And then from there, it became national networks, which was a lot of fun, different experience. And I always tell people, like, if you're planning on doing TV, do a lot of regional because that's a lot of good practice, especially because when you get into big studios, there's a lot more cameras involved. And just sharing my love for food with people, I think that's the best part because it doesn't matter, who you are, where you come from, people can come to the table and people always eat, right?
Yes. Food is definitely a universal way to bring people together. That is 100% certain. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So obviously you started out with the blog and creating recipes, but you've also, since then hopped on the different platforms on Instagram and Facebook and started doing things from home. I mean, did that start because of the pandemic?
I think we were all cooking or trying to find some kind of normalcy, right, during that time. So yeah, I was cooking a lot live with my husband, Rick, and we were just, he's always my sous chef in the kitchen. So we figured it would be fun to do that together, and it became a lot of fun. A lot of people enjoyed it. So, we kept going with it for a little bit just to have some kind of normalcy.
Yeah. And I mean, along the way, you had different people pop on and join you on the dual screens, like Brian Duffy, I know kind of and I love him.
Yeah,
He's
I think we all
like,
just like, yeah, we just all missed each other. And I think we just wanted to like, hey, how's it going? What are you doing?
yeah. And so it's fun
So
because it's like family. Like the more that you do that, the more people that you are introduced to within the culinary world. It's like a second family. So I
it
it
is.
yeah. And I have
And
to sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have to applaud you too because one of the things we can't do this on air. We're not allowed to, for FCC rules, drink on air. But I loved the fact
I
that
know I
lot,
had to.
a lot of your shows were like, and here's wine.
I know. And it's funny because when you're at home, you're enjoying your cocktail or your wine or your whatever you're drinking, and we would do that. We would cheers with people and, just make it normal as possible.
Yeah. Now, I'm gonna step away from, just introducing, some of the outside skirting, like your blogs and YouTube and all of the social media platform stuff. You and Rick both are facing something right now, and you adjusted, I think, quite healthily to the situation. But how do you feed your body? Because food, no matter what, is going to enhance, like, affect you. Like, if you're eating healthier, you're gonna start feeling that effect, like maybe not initially, but definitely like in a week or 2 weeks you start feeling a little bit better, and then maybe your mentality starts changing. You want to start going out and like walking around more. So
Mm-hmm.
what is it that, you know what are some of the foods that you've created that kind of you found help with healing your body through nutrients?
Well, I think everything in balance, first off. I don't think depriving yourself of eating a piece of cake or having chocolate or pasta or pizza is not the right thing to do, because obviously our bodies still crave that and we need those carbs. We need to have the sweets and stuff, but I think everything in balance. But I tried to eat healthy during the week, like Monday to Thursday, because Friday for me begins the weekend. So we like to splurge, you like to have those things. But for me, it's just incorporating a lot of greens, making homemade dressings at home, just trying to make things homemade a lot, but definitely always having some kind of green in your like dinner plate.
Yeah.
Either if it's a salad or spinach or just something, because this way then you're like, okay, well, I had some greens, now I can have like a little bit of pasta or some bread, or and growing up with a father who's a baker, I love bread. Like, the smell of hot bread coming out of the oven is like heaven to me.
That's
So,
how,
but balance.
yeah. And I mean, you feel a little less guilty when you do balance it like
Yes.
that. And I mean, smelling fresh baked bread like wafted through your house is
It's
probably,
amazing.
yes. Like, if
They
you
need to they need to make a candle with that scent if they don't already have one. But I feel like fresh baked bread. Ugh.
I feel like we'd make a lot of people very hungry. Like, like candle companies that out there, like if you did that, people would probably be very, very hungry.
I know for sure. But yeah, I think everything in balance, even with my kids, like since they were babies, now they're 14 and 12, I've always incorporated some kind of green in their diet, like something, either broccoli. Even when I was little, I didn't like to eat broccoli, but my dad would make it fun. He would be like, what, you're making the little tree sad, you got to eat the little tree, like just making it fun for them too, and letting them try stuff. Don't automatically think that your kids or picky eaters, like when parents go, oh no, they're not going to like that, don't even give it to them. Don't do that to your kids, because kids, if you start to say that, they automatically put it in their head like, oh, I'm not going to like that, you know?
Well, I mean, I can't vouch for anything because I don't have any children, but I know Gene, he's a chef and he also has kids. So, feel free to pipe in on this conversation.
Now, it's funny because the mother of both of my daughters was the chef as well, and we would have this little thing, who makes the best food, and hey, taste dad's this, taste mom's this, and that was a big thing to get them to eat all the different things and make it a little competition and have a little bit of fun
Yeah,
with it. But
that's
as an adult
hilarious.
now, they're very, and it's funny. I have one daughter who is, when she was young, she ate two things: chicken fingers and steak, and would not touch anything else. And then she reached a certain point. She always told me she wanted to be a food taster too. I was like, you actually need to eat food to taste. Today, she was vegan for a little bit. She is not anymore, but really her palate is so diverse now and so healthy oriented, and very little red meat, and even very little chicken, a lot more fish. But you
Mm-hmm.
just got to keep guiding them and planting the seed, and sooner or later that seed
Absolutely.
will grow.
Absolutely. I think that's so true. And the thing is with fish, for me, I love the Mediterranean diet, which is like the fish and the vegetables and like the hummus and the pita bread. Like I can live on like cheese and all that kind of Mediterranean life for forever. Like I love a good cheese board and a good charcuterie board. Like I could eat that for dinner all the time.
And then you get like such a wide selection too, because they're creating charcuterie boards that are like far more interesting than they used to
Oh
be.
my God. Yep. So true. Far from like the traditional little like Ritz crackers and like sliced little cheeses, it gets very actually competitive out there.
Yeah, definitely. Dave Shirtaki, I think is his name or something to that matter. I'm not going to say his full name because his Instagram name is a little inappropriate for FCC rules. But but he's one of the people that creates charcuterie boards that are just elaborate, like those big ones that like they make it into like an art form. Um
Yes.
I would feel so guilty like eating off of that.
Because it's so pretty, right? But
It
that's the
is.
thing is we eat with our eyes first. And that's why I love pretty food. Like when I
Yeah.
plate, because I want people like because you're not at my house eating. So I want you to eat with your eyes at least when you're looking at my Instagram or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, you do create like delicious meals at home and like, for people to follow along on your blog and, in the magazines and
Mm-hmm.
ad nauseum at like all of the different spots that you can find your recipes at. Like you have such like a large following and such a eclectic version of like different foods. What are some of your favorite foods to create?
I love Italian food. I mean, I think that's just one of the things that I can't step away too much from it, like Italian food and Latin food. And I think that's just because of who I am and who I was brought up with. But Italian food, there's just something about it. I mean, you can create so much, with just different kinds of herbs and the pastas that they make. But it's not just all about pastas too. There's different things like a good berjol, which is like a stuffed rolled meat and a good sauce, and there's like fish stews. There's so much that you can make. So,
Yeah.
but definitely like I think very European, and like I said, I don't veer away from my Latin culture, which is Brazilian. And, I love my rice and beans. I will always have that. But for sure, definitely Italian.
Gotcha. And I mean, I do see you cook Italian a lot on
I
when
do.
you put up live videos. and
I
and your
do.
cats sometimes, video bomb you, but
Oh my God. Yep. Yep. They
which is
do
my
for sure.
favorite things. Um,
Yeah.
but let's move into a little bit more about like, so you've been doing this for a while, obviously, and
Mm-hmm.
recently you promoted on Instagram that you have some new shows coming out. So what is the first show, the America's Comfort Food?
So America's comfort food is, I swear, like just the timing of things. And I don't know if I even spoke to you about this, but you obviously know what's going on with my husband. He has cancer and he's going through that. But just the timing of everything in life, like I've worked so hard to have a show for so long. And at one point, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to keep doing it. But last year, when we got hit with this news, it was more like, what, I'm going to put this to the side for now and just, focus on my family. And out of nowhere, just things happen, and I think they're just meant to happen. And for me, I have a lot of faith too. So I feel like it was all in God's timing.
Mhm.
And recipe.tv, which reached out to me, Lisa Renee Ramirez, who is an amazing producer director. She's a multi Emmy award winning powerhouse of a woman, I have to say. She reached out and we connected and she came out. They flew out from LA and we taped America's Comfort Food here in Philadelphia, my hometown, which I was like super excited about. And from there, I got my own show. So now the other show is called What's for Dinner with Roberta Pipito. So that is the second show that we taped, and it will be coming out in the summer. So it's unreal, like just these things that happen in life.
Yeah.
So, but I'm breaking it with you now here, that it was this huge opportunity. It's you can find it if you go to your local TV listings and you look for recipe.tv, it'll pop up. It's an Allen Media Group. Byron Allen is, the president, the owner of the corporation and all that. And it's just amazing. I'm so blessed and so honored to be part of that,
So how did they initially
you never know, and that's what I was going to tell you. You never know who's watching.
Yes.
You never know who's watching you, who's listening to you, who's paying attention, especially on social media. So it just happened that way. They were following me and they were just like, we like, your personality, who you are, and we would love to work with you. And it was actually Lisa Renee who, she is, when I tell you, she's the tiniest woman, but like I call her the little Energizer bunny because I swear she guided me through this whole thing. And there were times there that I was like, I don't know if I could do this, and she's like, you got this, like, and it's like women supporting women. And I think it's such a beautiful thing, Yeah. And she's also a fellow Latin girl. So, it was nice to just have comfort in that as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I love supporting women as well. And I know Gene does, as well too, because he's surrounded by women.
You think I have enough in my life?
You think you need a few more.
Okay. I have, Roberta, to be clear, I have 4 daughters and even the dog. Okay, so I do have a stepson, but in my household growing up at one point in time, I had, right now I have 2 24-year-olds and 2 21-year-olds. So there were 4 teenage daughters at once running around. And even the dog was, even I don't even have a male dog. I'm just out of luck. So.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's amazing though. That's amazing.
And your co-host and co-owner of the show is
I
female. You're just inundated with us.
Listen, who runs the world? I'm just saying, just putting it out there. My grandma would always say, the man can be the head of the house, but the woman is the neck and she'll make the man's head turn anywhere. So that's what she would always say, which I thought was hilarious. But
yes, that's an old Italian statement that it's so true.
But yeah, this is a huge opportunity and I hope, everybody tunes into it. And, I'm really excited. We did 6 episodes, 18 recipes. So I can't wait for everybody to see it. In America's Comfort Food, we will be traveling around the US and just going around and showing you guys a lot of different things. Obviously in Philadelphia, I actually took one of the chefs from recipe.tv along with me, Chef Edward Delling Williams. He went with me all around Philadelphia. I took him to a couple different places, obviously iconic places too. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what are some of the premises of within reason, because I know that you can't talk about it in detail because you're probably under some sort of NDA, but prior to the show actually showing.
I know.
But like, so are we going to see for What's for Dinner? Are we seeing you in a kitchen that's at home? Or are you seeing, are we going to see you in a studio kitchen?
No, it's a kitchen at home.
Okay.
But it's like, like if you watch, any like cooking channel, cooking, like they're in their own kitchen at home. So that's basically what we're bringing to you guys. And and I like to have fun in the kitchen and with goofy things. So you're definitely going to have some surprises there.
Right. Now, are you going to have
I just like to make it fun,
Yeah. Now with the your traveling one with America's Comfort Food, are we going to see more guests on in addition to the chef that you brought around to iconic Philly locations? Like what are we looking forward to?
So with this one, it's just basically going to be me. With this, when we brought Edward over, it was more of them, which I thought was beautiful, to welcome me to the recipe.tv family, which I think was amazing. But also, it's me welcoming him. Like, he came all the way from France, to see Philadelphia, to be in Philadelphia. And it was a nice way kind of to incorporate like welcoming me into the family and me showing him where I'm from, where I grew up going to, or, Italian market and stuff like that. So there's a lot there. So you got to tune in for that. It should be out soon though, America's Comfort Food. So I will keep posting it when the time comes.
Did I hear you, Jean?
You did not. I'm just listening, and I'm very excited. I was actually Googling it to see if it was available yet, but
not yet.
And
that's why you got to stay tuned.
That's right, and I love that. Like me, you're a Bucks County person, and we're actually not very far apart in our geographic area, so we know a lot of the great things that we have up here in Bucks County, as well as Philadelphia. So
yeah, and that's the nice thing is that I grew up in Northeast Philly all my life. I'm a Northeast Philly girl through and through, but I've been living out here in Bucks County. My husband is from this area, and I've grown to love Bucks County just as much as Philadelphia. It's beautiful up here, and there's so many amazing, restaurants coming around here in the area. It's not just in Center City, so it's nice.
Yeah. Bucks County is gorgeous, and there's a lot to do.
It is.
Yeah. Because obviously I travel all over the place too. Like, so it's not unusual for me to find myself in Bucks County, especially like, the food scene there, is phenomenal. And obviously I know a few people that live out that area. So what else can we look forward to? I mean, not that you're not already doing so much, but what's next for you?
So we're definitely going to do another, this is something that we're going to keep doing. So it's definitely different cities. So like if I ever post, like if you follow me and I go, hey, does anybody have any recommendations for this city or for this, state or whatever? I would love feedback too, if we could stop into certain areas, but it's one of those things now where it's still like, tight-lipped until it actually like comes out.
Yeah.
So that's the only hard part is like I want to like say, oh my gosh, guys, like blah blah blah. But it's one of those things where you got to kind of wait. And but yeah, truly a blessing to work with the whole crew. They're just amazing. So
yeah. Can you let us know or let our listeners know when it'll air, or is that still hush hush too?
So What's for Dinner is coming in the summer. So I mean, I don't know the exact date yet, but I will definitely post as soon as I know. I mean, there's a lot of, the thing is, you don't realize how much goes into these cooking shows. Yeah. The process that it takes. I mean, I didn't even know. I was just like, oh, I'm going to cook and, I'll be done in a couple of hours. No, it's like 12, 13-hour days. And, and the fun thing is with Lisa Renee, like she was so good at directing because she was just like, all right, you got to like, give me a little more energy, like, and then I would see it. She's like, come and look at the camera and see yourself. So this way you can like, see what you're doing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not like me at all, so you have to give like 110%. Like it is, because you come out like plain, like, like if you don't have energy, so it's definitely different from live TV from what I'm used to. But the camera guys, the camera people, the sous chefs, like everybody is just outstanding. But yeah, it's a lot of work.
I was only on one TV, like Good Morning Delaware show, and
Yeah.
I have to say, like, it doesn't faze me having the different cameras shooting at me. I think I was more nervous because the seat that I had to sit on was so high up. I was so afraid that I was going to fall off. I think I like on camera, I was like,
oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Yeah, the cameras don't faze me anymore. I mean, I remember when I first started, I was nervous, but the thing is, like with live TV and like pre-recorded and then doing a show are three completely different animals, like from everything that I've experienced. Like live, you're live. If you screw up, you screw up. You got to keep going. And it is what it is what it is. And then pre-recorded is usually pretty good because if you're only doing one recipe, it's fine. But like a show, it's like we need to take beauty shots of the food, and it's like beauty shots of this, and it's like can we redo promos and commercials, and it's a lot.
And maybe Jean and I will luck out one day and have one of those shows too. So we'll experience it with you. Or maybe I can join you on like I'll sign like an NDA and I can join you on one of the shows and just like see what all happens behind scenes. So I get some sort of concept of it and like but I'm excited for you. I've been excited.
Thank you.
And so for our listeners out there, where can they find you online? Where can they find you?
So they all social media, either Roberta Pipito or Homemade Delish. Homemade Delish is still my baby. It's still there. It's what brought me to where I am today. But now it's a new step. It's a new chapter, and I always tell that to people, like, you're in one chapter, but the chapter turns and you have another opportunity coming. So
exactly. And I look forward to watching you on television, watching you on the shows. And also when you pop on like IG Live and Facebook Live and all of that.
We will be doing that later today.
There you go.
So
I'll see you, Rick, and the cats.
I know. Yes, for sure.
But thank you so much for joining us on Food Farms and Chefs and sharing the announcement with our, with us and with our listeners.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
And I wish you all the luck. Break legs, as the saying goes. And we will tune in as soon as we find out exactly when it airs on JTV or Recipe TV.
Recipe.tv. Yep.
So. Congratulations, Roberta. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Very, very much deserved. You are an inspiration to many in the food industry, whether you know that or not.
Thank you so much, Gina. I really appreciate it.
All right. And we will be right back after this very short break. Hi, and welcome back to Food Farms and Chefs. And I am thankful to have on Vladimir Is it Grinberg?
Grinberg.
Yes. So Vladimir, you own the Organic Grill and you're the founder. You co-own it with your wife and your stepdaughter, Julia.
Yeah.
Yes. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your history? Because I know that you, as a younger child, learned how to cook, and you were cooking in restaurants at the age around 13, I think.
Yeah. It just was something that I was exposed in my life, but it was never really a dream of mine to own a restaurant. It just we were exposed in a family to the sickness. My mom was sick at the time, and when we saw how vegan organic food helped her to stay alive, literally stay alive, because she was threatened with cancer, and was given like a month to live. And then she lived productive almost 9 years. And when she passed, we decided to open organic and vegan restaurant to kind of commemorate her memory and her impact on all of our family.
So while she was sick and while you were growing up and be acclimating to that diet and the dietary needs of your mother, what was it like? Did you have that history? Did you know how to create meals that were organic and micro or
No,
macro?
I had necessary skills to cook, but uh, no, never was exposed to veganism before the accident, right? And never really understood the value of organic food before we actually faced a necessity of it. Um, it was always in my head, and I heard many times that food is a healing element, but it was always like just a good thing to say, never something that I was given a lot of proof in my personal life, right? And after we faced the power of it, we decided to completely commit ourselves and embrace it.
Which is a good thing. Now you grew up being Jewish Russian, if I
Yeah, I came from Ukraine. We are Jewish. We lived in Ukraine almost now at least 32 years ago.
oh wow. So looking back with what you had available, was it easy to obtain the ingredients to create this diet?
We started this when we already were in United States.
Oh, okay. So you had obviously like a wealth of nutrients that were available to you in the US. So
I mean, at the time, it was kind of uh, segregated group of people who would go to co-ops because there was no Whole Foods at the time. So you had to find your ways to know uh, people in the local community who organize food co-ops or have a direct relationship with farmers who would deliver. So there was no widespread network of health food stores at the time.
yeah, that's a fair point because I forget sometimes, given the generation gap, it's a small one, but there's still like a generation gap of the availability of things like Whole Foods and Sprouts and Trader Joe's, which is abundant now, and they offer, produce that you wouldn't normally find at a regular grocery store. I think regular grocery stores obviously are starting to pick up on the trend finally of like having that healthier nutritional food that's nutrient rich. But back then I didn't even think of that back then. Like there was probably a limit on what you could find when you went grocery shopping. So
It is honestly, to be completely fair, I think it's a tricky question because now it's more commercialized
mm,
and um, third parties, if you say, kind of taking advantage of it. There is a certification process, and it all came from demand because before that it was enough just to buy from farmers, and there was certain level of trust and certain level of um,
availability.
responsibility to support them and to support food co-ops. Now you can just, but you also have to commit your time to help them to organize produce, and you have to become a member, which would dedicate certain amount of time a week. So if you look at it from a different perspective, you were more involved and more aware of the processes. Now you can go to the store, just pay and get it. So, but it also made the food more expensive because there are more middlemen in between.
This is true. And especially with everything, all the prices of everything rising anyway, it makes a difference. So now, given because we've had different co-ops and CSAs on our show in the past, and we do know that you do have to apply to be a member. And yes, you are correct. Put through X amount of hours, dedicating to also helping the co-op with the growth of the produce. And it matters, but I think it also like makes it a little bit better that you know exactly what's going into what you're going to eat because you grew it yourself. Are you still involved in any of the co-ops?
To tell you the truth, when you're running a commercial organization like a restaurant, it's hard to deal with small co-ops or just individual farms because they usually focus on only certain types of produce that they grow. So more realistic is that restaurants are dealing with distributors. It's a nice story to say that you're supporting farmers and co-ops, but realistically, in order to have a variety and diversity of produce, probably most of the restaurants dealing with distributors. We do have individual farmers that we have long-term relationship, and we kind of are privileged to work with them when they have certain type of harvest and they call us in advance. So we take advantage of this kind of relationship.
Now, I know that you like going back to your actual restaurant that you founded, the Organic Grill. I know that you previously had it located in the East Village area.
Correct.
And during COVID, you had to move locations.
It wasn't, it just kind of coincided. The landlord decided to sell the building, so we still had a certain amount of years left on the lease, but there was no reason to stay there because we knew already they're not going to prolong a lease for the restaurant. They wanted to do something else. So we moved to another neighborhood, but we did stay in a community for 22 years. Yeah.
And I know that through some of my research, you had in that community, you had a wealth of people who were dedicated, who, came to you, who ate what had on the menu. What was it like transitioning into a new location and,
But
how
kind of hard. I tell you honestly, and I thought foolishly that loyalty and long-term relationship would kind of bring majority for our customers to a new location because it's only like literally 10 minutes walk. It did. We had about 70% of our clients kind of come with us, but they're not as frequent now, and we still have to do a lot of work to get to know new community and reach out to new organization, which was a very positive experience for us to get to know new group of people, to get to know what is relevant for our new customers, because you'll be surprised some of the dishes that were so popular for years and years were not that inviting for new audience. So there was some kind of lessons to learn, and feedback was very important. Yeah.
Now my co-host, who is, a little quiet right now because his unfortunately his throat's a little bit sore today, but he's a chef, so he knows a lot about transitioning and like cooking, for a wide variety of palates. But Jean, what's one of your questions for Vlad?
So when you started out your business, you've been doing it quite some time now. What was the initial, how did people take to you originally? I mean, veganism and macrobiotics and healthy eating, while in New York has been popular longer than it has been in Philadelphia, it's certainly a newer trend. So, did you experience any type of bias, or were people unsure? Did you have to, work on convincing them in the get go?
Um, so it's interesting. People have impressions that it's a newer trend, vegan cuisine and veganism as a movement. But in reality, when we started, it was like a golden era of veganism in New York. East Village at one point had maybe 15 restaurants on a 10 block uh, distance. We had health food store right next to us. That's actually why I have chosen that location. We had a hippie, probably one of the oldest health food stores in New York. The name was Prana, and we were right next door to it. They stayed, unfortunately, only 3 years open while we was there, but it was a great collaboration, and we enjoyed it. So at the time, it was really neighborhood of underground, a lot of music, art, and musicians and artists were living there, and they were definitely pioneers of veganism in New York. A lot of bands were our customers. It was a really cohesive community. If to answer your question, what was the challenge? Challenge was not to try. At least for me, I was always thinking of it as a restaurant that unites and kind of embodies spirit of community rather than creating something exquisite that people can't get anywhere else. My hope was always people coming in, having almost like house-made food that they look at and say, "Oh, I can do it at home. I can eat something like that at home. It's tasty." For me, vegan food is not just different category of food. It's just tasty food. So as long as you are not allergic to good food, I thought you can eat our food.
I
Many
mean,
years many years ago, I had a wonderful opportunity to uh, intern under and work alongside a wonderful macrobiotic chef here in Philadelphia by the name of Lindsay Gilmore, and
Uh,
you know macrobiotics. The same reason her brother had cancer, he got into it, and she, learned from that. So the stories are so similar, and people don't realize, today, the value of taking refined sugars out of your diet and processed foods and everything like that. And it's so wonderful to hear your story because it really, you know, speaks to how in America we have the best foods in the world and we just eat them all wrong and we process them wrong and we eat too many of the wrong foods. Much like Roberta was speaking earlier, everything in moderation. So,
Jen, it's very. Go ahead.
kudos to you for telling that story.
But Jean, it's very significant that you just brought up macrobiotic approach because this is how our restaurant started. Okay, when I told you that my mom got sick, she started to look for solutions, and she went to local library. It was probably pre-internet, and she found a small book about macrobiotic food, and she told me, "I want to go to that retreat." And I should be first to admit that I was kind of skeptical, and I told her that I'd love to help, but in your condition, people are so eager to sell you snake oil, right? And but we decided that there were not many options, so we should go. So me and her, we went to macrobiotic retreat. That's how I got introduced to this. We went to Berkshire and stayed there for a month. And then when we came back, I contacted chefs that I met there, and they were helping me to open a restaurant. So it all started as macrobiotic restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, it is a whole new level for people who don't understand, the difference. Vegan is, the lack of any animal product, but when you get into macrobiotics and you get into, no refined sugars and just a whole different world.
Yeah, less
No,
processed food. Yeah.
it's a really wonderful. And one of the things I truly loved about her cooking, and I did a little research on your restaurant, is the when you can do dessert and pastries with no cream and no butter and no refined sugar, and they are simply delicious. Like that's the mark of someone who really understands their craft.
Yeah, we try to simplify all the ingredients, and I would say that 99% of everything we do is made from scratch our place. We don't buy anything prepared. Even like mayos and sauces for cheeses and our sausages, we all make ourselves.
Nice.
Wonderful. Amorous?
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to give your voice a break, but I was gonna say, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about some of the menu items? Because I was looking it up, and to be fair, my mother's a vegetarian, and I was a vegetarian for 10 years before I started reintroducing meat into my dietary regimen. But I have to say, from the 10 years that I was a vegetarian, going to health food stores and, finding the wealth of like options that, are the mock foods. There's amazing options out there. Obviously if you're on a macro diet, it's not going to be the best diet, for you because it's not the non-preservatives, no, like, so when you get something that's frozen, obviously there's preservatives in it. But for you guys, you are creating these meals and your menu options span like a lot of different flavors. So tell our listeners, some of the offerings that you have on your menu.
Uh, just to take into consideration that we're in New York, it's a widespread international menu. We have tofu masala and we have mac and cheese, right?
Yeah.
So we have kung pao bowl, which is like a traditional jasmine rice with veggies, and we also have burgers. So we try to be eclectic. We try not to kind of get focused on one dish. In my view, organic grill is almost like a um, home style diner food, like good quality food that you would enjoy having at home. Okay, and uh, just because we're doing it for so long, nobody calls it organic grill anymore. Everybody calls it OG. Okay, so are you going to OG, or they talk about OG burgers? So it's a common um,
Phrase.
short name for for organic grill now.
So they use your acronym OG. And
Right.
it's cute too because you're kind of like the OG of vegan food, in New York because you've been
Yeah,
around for a while.
we even have a website, Vegan of G. It's hopefully going to be our book that we write in the next year or year and a half.
Ah, here's another announcement on Food Farms and Chefs. You're writing a book.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So, what are some of your more popular items? Because I had to say when I was looking through your website, I laughed a little bit because I thought it was super cute. You have not piggies in a blanket.
Right. We have not piggies in a blanket. We have not scallops. Yeah. So a lot of, but probably burgers our um, more popular items. A lot of our starters like mac and cheese. We have loaded fries. Um, we have cauliflower in different sauces that we uh, roast. People love those uh, comfy food, but comfortable and convenient food shouldn't be junk food. There are many ways to make it nutritious and still flavorful.
Exactly. Now, I read something in one of the articles that was written on you that you were considering opening up a refrigerated section so that people can bring your foods home.
Yeah, it's always, especially as prices are going up now, ordering just small takeout may not necessarily serve your needs, especially if you uh, have a bigger family or your lifestyle uh, um, based on shifts that may be working nights or working mornings. So we always wanted to offer people something that they can take home and stuff refrigerator for week. Okay, and we always do it for holidays, like on Thanksgiving or New Year. You can pick up trays and not to cook and just enjoy your family. So we do our cheeses in bulk. We do our sausages. You can buy burgers, frozen or cooked, by dozen, that type of thing. Yeah.
Now, can people order that just locally, or is that something where you guys would ship it nationwide?
For now, locally, but we are looking into this. Yeah, especially now it's becoming widespread phenomenon that you can get anything from anywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, I know places like Gold Belly are one of the
Yeah.
most popular, you know, I think global, but definitely stateside companies that ship all over the US. So, you know, the availability just in and of itself and, you know, being able to offer something that's unique because I feel like there's a lack of you had mentioned masuma curry like as a sauce. That's something that I absolutely love, but it's in vegan form. I feel like there's a lack for, you know, being able to purchase something that was pre-made so that I could bring it home and just, you know, reheat it either in the oven or the microwave. So that would be outstanding to have something that obviously is a phenomenal product because you wouldn't be so like out there for so long as a restaurateur
Right.
if it weren't for there being a very tasty, delicious menu that people want to keep going back to you for.
I agree. And also, I wanted to mention it's always a dilemma, at least for me. How's this food not to become elitist food? Okay, because we are, whatever anybody says about vegan being mainstream now and organic being mainstream, it's still kind of niche food. And once we try to send it nationwide, it might become almost um, inaccessible for certain category of people because it will become more and more expensive. So we always kind of worrying that by making it so unique and selective, we might cut off certain category of people who would benefit from it. So we always try to incorporate in our menu certain items that are affordable and give possibility for people to enjoy vegan food without completely breaking their budget.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. Like that you're looking out for everyone's benefit, you know, because obviously you're in a business so you need to be able to make money, but you also have to be able to have have it be accessible to everyone as you said.
Yeah,
Um
because when you go to some unique um, 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 aisles of even Whole Foods, and you see cashew cheese that is fermented, that is 30 of $35 per pound. There is no justification for it. Okay, there is no way this kind of food would be 2-3 times more expensive than conventional products. So you have to keep it relatable to average audience. Otherwise, it's going to be again going only to elite type of customers, which we definitely don't want to do, because veganism is a lifestyle, and making food inaccessible is not making it engaging.
Yeah. And I mean, circling back to the fact that, you know, if you are utilizing it to help extend yourself, you know, your life and or heal your body from nutrients, you know, you're already paying a pretty penny medically. Like you need to be able to focus on that and have the nutrients that you're taking into your body be a reasonable price, because obviously you don't want to lack the nutrients and nutritional value of the foods that you're eating.
Yes, and this is a personal choice and personal commitment, but I also don't want to go easy um, on assistance of organizations and maybe even a government, right? Yes, government found a way to capitalize on organic certification because it became part of a trend, and it's clearly seen as a something that can benefit um price politic, right? But at the same time, when the depression was an issue, government found a way to subsidize meat, for example, right? So why don't we do something to subsidize organic food? Or God forbid, we ban GMO, right? So it's not only a necessarily personal issue, but it's a quality of life issue that governing bodies should be getting worried about and should get involved and hopefully facilitate us to adopt healthier lifestyles.
I'm gonna have to uh, chop you off right there and like cut you off there. So speaking of adopting healthier lifestyles, we unfortunately have run out of time. So thank you for joining us on Food Farms and
Thank you,
Chefs.
guys. Thank you very
And
much.
before we let you go, where can we find you online and in person?
Okay, so this is website theorganicgrill.com. We have an Instagram account, Organic Grill. We are in West Village of New York, right next door to world famous Blue Note Jazz Club, and across the street from world famous Comedy Cellar Comedy Club. So it's easy to find us.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on
Guys,
Food
it's a
Farms and Chefs,
pleasure.
Vlad. And you can find us on Food Farms and Chefs by telling your smart device to play it. And you can find Gene Blum at IBFoodie2 or Gene Blum across most social media. And if you would like to email him, you can email him at ibfoodie2@yahoo.com. And you can email myself or find me on social media by following AR Policus or emailing me at arpolicus@gmail.com.